Hey, in this video I'm going to be talking about The Moon is Following Us Volume 1, published by Image Comics, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, and with art done by Riley Rossmo. The Moon is Following Us follows Sam and Duncan Lamar on a race to save their daughter from her own dreamland. Their daughter Penny fell asleep 6 months ago and hasn't woken up. Penny's trapped inside her own mind, seemingly playing host to a war of multi-dimensional proportion. With aid both from the various denizens of Penny's dreams and a mysterious figure known as Tash Severin, the couple must delve into their daughter's mind to get her back. Throughout the volume, the couple battles a group known as the Cascade, who appear to be the cause of Penny's condition. I'm going to be going into heavy spoilers in this video, so if you've seen anything about this comic or find that little intro tidbit appealing, check it out and then come back if you want to hear my opinion. Otherwise, let's get into it. As we follow the adventure of Sam and Duncan, we see them fight both the Cascade and their own personal demons. Sam is quick to anger and prone to barreling through whatever gets in her way. We see her merciless drive to save her daughter and unwavering fortitude in the face of almost any peril, with one major exception. When Sam is up against a leader of the Cascade, we see that the creature is, or rather appears to be, Sam's mother. While we as readers can tell this is a trick, Sam seems unable to differentiate between the two. We're shown the trauma surrounding the death of Sam's mother, which affected both Sam and Penny. Because of this, Sam more or less shuts down for a chunk of the battle, unable to face off with the figure. It'll be interesting to see if this appearance is permanent to the creature while it's in Penny's mind, or if it can take on other forms as well. There's also notably two creatures that seem to be the leader of the Cascade, so I assume that the other one will be relevant to Duncan. Aesthetically, Sam has a Battle Babe vibe going on in the vein of characters like Big Barda, Xena, or Red Sonja, both in design and attributes. She cares passionately about her daughter and is willing to sacrifice anything and everything for her goal, getting Penny back into the real world. She definitely fits well into your standard cliche of hot warrior women, but I'm an absolute sucker for the action girl, so you won't hear me complain about it. Where Sam is emotional, her husband is enigmatic. Duncan himself lacks any real drive to face off with danger and doesn't read quite as heroic as one might consider his wife. What Duncan lacks in bravado, he seems to make up for in calculation and intuition. The book hints at him having a good sense of people and a sly mind for more sneaky endeavors. I will say, however, as of Volume 1, I didn't personally think he got that much time to shine. While there's a clear groundwork for his character later on, I do wish we had a little bit of a bigger spark, even if only for a moment. There's a sense, at least in my opinion, that he is capable of more than the book is letting on. At this moment, he feels almost cowardice, unable to strike at enemies even when defending himself from immediate danger. It's clear Duncan wants Penny back just as much as Sam, but the book seems to be waiting for the opportunity to show both us, the reader, as well as Sam, just how much Duncan is capable of in order to save his daughter. Duncan's design is reminiscent of his character in the same way that Sam's is reminiscent of hers. He kind of looks like a futuristic Robin Hood, with his beard and green ensemble. A large yellow lobster claw-like arm acts as a shield and breaks up a bit of the green, but in general he has a much sleeker design than his wife, appearing perhaps more utilitarian. The cover of Volume 1 makes him almost look like Master Chief, but inside the comic it's slimmed down quite a bit. I think this also goes back to Riley Rossmo's art style, which appears to prioritize silhouette and readability over purpose and practicality. The side characters of The Moon is Following Us paint a fun, eclectic group, reflecting the setting with a mix of childhood whimsy and gritty action movie. The standout companion for the pair, at least in my opinion, is the Toad, fashioned after their daughter's childhood plushie. While their companions don't hold memories of their lives and time as Penny's toys, all members of the Resistance Army hold her in good regards, willing to risk everything, including themselves, for the girl's safety. While we only get flickers of Penny as a character, she acts more as a tool for the story than an actual character. When conscious, she's clearly terrified, knowing that she's trapped in her own dreams. Mostly what we see of her, though, is a ghost of the past, that being the memories held of her by her parents. It's unclear how much control Penny has over her dreamland, or if she has any at all. I do hope that we get to see a bit more of her character, but at the end of the day, she is functionally the pin holding the story together. Riley Rossmo's art is animated, colorful, and creates a fun atmosphere for the series. His heavily stylized art allows for the fantasy to mix well with the more realistic elements. Rossmo also gets pretty detailed in his work, creating some full and two-page spreads that are just as nice standalone pieces as they are a part of the comic's narrative. I wasn't sure how fantastical this book would be when I started reading it. Personally, I like to know just enough about a comic to pique my interest when I pick it up. Because of that, I somehow convinced myself that this would be a sci-fi story of like being trapped in the internet. This definitely isn't that. It's more Shark Boy and Lava Girl than it is Ready Player One. But one page in particular reminded me a bit of The Electric State, the novel by Simon Stålenhag, not the Netflix movie. It's when we see Duncan and Sam sprawled out in bed with these large helmets that they've been using to get into their daughter's dreams. Wires stretch from the headset into the hallway and then further into their daughter's room. Around them, the house is a bit in disarray, these small things forgotten as they focus on their daughter, and medical equipment sits beside Penny's bed. Even though the sci-fi assumption ended up not being the case, it really creates an interesting vibe and stuck in my mind as I read on. If I had one complaint, I would say that while lively and exciting, it can be a smidge difficult to determine what's going on. I found this to be especially true with some of the action scenes, such as when Penny falls out of a helicopter. It wasn't entirely clear, at least not to me, at what point they'd put Penny down and for what reason they'd let her go instead of continuing to hold on to her. This isn't a major issue, but I noticed it a few times throughout Volume 1. As a side note, because I do love to include side notes, I backed the Electric State RPG when it was on Kickstarter and have spent some time reading through the game's mechanics. I'm not sure when or if I'll ever actually get to run the game, but if you like the concept and the world that Stålenhag created, maybe consider checking out the RPG. I'll link to it in the description. Daniel Warren Johnson does a nice job with weaving the various characters through a fun and engaging storyline. Similarly to the art, the tone of The Moon is Following Us is an eclectic mix between cuteness and imagination of a 6-year-old's mind, a story of parents losing their daughter, and the seriousness of conflict and war, all against a backdrop of helicopters fighting dragons and a buff teddy bear defending Barbie from a horde of fiends and monsters. I think Johnson also does a nice job writing the dynamic between the protagonists. Sam and Duncan are clearly a couple and clearly love their daughter, but there's a strain there. They go about the world in very different ways, and it's created a fracture in their dynamic, like a crease that can't quite be ironed out, at least not yet. I think this sort of strained affection and unconditional trust can be hard to pull off, since in comics a character's tone and attitude is seen and not heard. Johnson and Rossmo came together to create a nice, believable relationship. Sam and Duncan are long past puppy love, needing an open and honest communication between the two if they can stay together and save their daughter. One major spoiler that I want to clarify is, like, the spoiler of the volume is its ending, so skip this if you don't want to hear about it. As Volume 1 concludes, it's revealed that Tash, the couple's guide into the dream world, has betrayed them. Tash is a mysterious character who almost appears druidic in design. He shows up out of nowhere to help the couple save their daughter, lamenting that he had his own daughter once and lost her, assumedly to the cascade. It's not entirely clear where his powers came from or even how they work. What does become clear is Tash's true nature, someone willing to sacrifice the couple and everything they've been working towards in order to save his own daughter. In all honesty, this twist worked for me. Tash spoke often of his daughter, but exclusively in past tense. He's also significantly older, at least physically, than Sam and Duncan. This implied to me on first reading that his daughter had died some time ago, with Tash being trapped in the dream world. He mentioned this possibility to the couple a few times, so I assumed that was his story. The twist also then called into question a lot of other moments for me, moments of suspicion and gestures that hint at Tash not being entirely on their side. Overall, I've enjoyed The Moon is Watching Us. It's a fun adventure and presents an interesting narrative to explore. My only real concern with the series, aside from some of the action sequences and how they're kind of formatted, is the possibility that this series could go on too long. Volume 1 ends on a cliffhanger for Volume 2, which I think makes sense, but I do hope that they let the story conclude naturally rather than continue on indefinitely. But yeah, so far it's been a fun read and I look forward to picking up future volumes. And that's really all I have to say about The Moon is Following Us. us. I also might have called it The Moon is Watching Us once or twice in this video, but we'll see. Have you heard of this comic or have any interest in checking it out? I'll link to the comic, some of the creator socials and stuff like that in the video description. But yeah, pretty short and sweet, hopefully. Yeah, I don't know. Have a good night, and hopefully I'll have something new for you soon. Bye, YouTube.